Everybody can get on. 5:48 Eastern Time on the island. We're gonna handle some good shit today. We're gonna talk about things that I haven't talked about because my audience don't like to hear it. But you know what? We're gonna just settle a few for Supreme Sunday live with Hootie. Let me know you're jumping on here. Beautiful day today. Oh wow, no humidity, even though it's a little raining. Little rain today. It's cool out. No humidity. I'm using the laptop. That's how serious this is. I never bust this bad boy out. Truth is, I don't know how to use it. Apple's supposed to be the idiot's guide to technology, and I guess I'm beyond the idiot. All right, guys. I'm going to start off just real quick before I get started on street knowledge on what's going on with the bullshit. Derek, what's good, baby? Tommy Agro, who do you think is the strongest mafia and why? The family. I'm just going to get real quick to the super chats because I want to thank everybody. I didn't know how this worked, so I got to it on my own. And somebody that helps run the channel. So a lot of you don't realize this, but I do have somebody that runs my channel and my IG because you just can't trust these people out there that are trying to get you locked up on bullshit. So they make sure everything's above. I film in here because this is what I like to do. We have a studio. And for a lot of you that don't know, a studio, a beautiful studio where you can record in Midtown Manhattan at $100 for an hour. Now, there is no money being made on YouTube. Everything that I do, the shirts that I send it out the first time, the shirts I send out the second time, that's all out of my own pocket. So to put out an extra $100 for an hour to look legit, I don't need to do that. When I'm ready to go in and I'm going to start doing some serious interviews and people start realizing the genre that I'm in isn't the gossip genre, isn't the mob genre, it's the street drama. Growing up in the streets and being part of the life was just something that came along in my life, not something I was a part of officially, just a piece of my life that just took a big chunk out of it. So there's a lot to talk about. And I know a lot of people think, I'm just looking at the computer here, guys, think that I wasn't even an associate, somebody said, and how can I know more than a mayor guy? Let me explain something to you. When a guy is put in position, he's only put in a position to know and learn certain things. Now, I hear guys talk about Cosa Nostra and the way it should be and the rules. And they try to sit here and tell you that's the way they were doing it. It's bullshit. Those are the rules. I've heard them all. I've watched them change, and I've heard them all since the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and on. I sat there in 2011 and heard them negotiate the way it was going to be from federal prison amongst captains. Because if you go look at any one of my indictments, you know what you're going to see? My real name with my alias, Hootie. Right underneath, it says United States of America, verse, the consigliere family, and then me. Not saying that I'm anybody special. Just go look at my indictments. And none of my indictments have anything to do with me testifying or ranting against anybody. Now, friends, guys that I do it with my family from that life, no longer talk to me, but don't want harm to come to me. The people that talk harm are street guys. So I'm out here, I'm not fighting against these YouTube gangsters. I'm looking over my shoulder for some real street guys that send messages. And when I'm gonna let you know how messages go in the street. See, this is a little street knowledge, and it's a teachable moment for you people that don't understand it. Gangsters, we don't use that word. But real G's, they do move in silence and violence. So when you get a message like, quit now, damage is already done. That's telling me that some capable men are looking to put it on me. So I'm not worried about this YouTube gangster shit. Matter of fact, Todd Little, he's on here right now for all these YouTube gangsters. I'm getting messages. He's called every one of them out. I don't go on and watch, so I don't know. But I've looked now because people see I was away in the mountains yesterday, so my phone wasn't working. And one of my closest friends was trying to get in touch with me all day. My bad, brother. But when I got home, which now I know where to go when I want no cell service. I mean, literally, you cannot get a phone call off. I had no idea. But I'm not a guy that is attached to his phone, so I don't really care. But when my boy's trying to get in touch with me, that's a little something, you know? And then I get messages, and I'm getting clips, because I don't watch it, of how he's going at all these guys that are calling out ex-guys that used to be in the streets and the mob life. He's calling them guys out to fights. That these guys are calling guys that are trying to move on with their lives and either go into books or movies. I'm not trying to go into any of it. My book is being written because I want people to hear my life story. And I know a lot of people took what I said when I said there wasn't enough people on. If you know my personality from watching my shows, I was just busting chops. 165, I'm blessed. There's no money in this for me. This isn't going to lead to something that's going to make me Hollywood or money. I don't want to be Hollywood, and I've had and not had money, so it doesn't mean nothing to me. I was just busting chops when I said that, and a lot of people thought that I was upset. I wasn't. One person, if you always hear me say, if one person is listening and can get something out of this, then yeah, I'm happy with that. 165, I'm fine with. I was just breaking chest. I was actually making fun of somebody and didn't want to say their name, but I'm gonna today. But first, like I said, all you YouTube gangsters, Todd Little's waiting for you. I had no idea this was going on, that he's been contacting all you guys that have been calling guys out to fight. He's been contacting all of you, and he's been erasing his messages because he sent them to me. And he's got no problem. He told me, Hootie, I'll come drive and pick you up. We'll go meet. Show me where every one of these people are, because you're from that neighborhood. And I will fight every single person that calls out people throughout the platform. Yeah. So you just want to look him up. He's in your DMs. He's in your YouTube channels. He's in everything. So shout out to Todd, keeping it real for the people that he represents. And, you know, and he ain't part of any genre. He's a regular dude that supports people trying to change their lives. Me, like I told you, the only thing that changed about me is I stopped committing crime. That's the only thing. I'm still me. Still living where I'm living. And I told these people that sent me the message, because they know what that means. That means there's capable guys out there. And you know what? If I got to walk into a bar or a restaurant, because that's not going to stop me, I'm still going to go. Like I have been. And this ain't guys that I've been away with. This is street guys. These are guys that are mobbed up, some of them. And if they got 3 guys that want to put me in the hospital, then they got 1 out of that 3 that got the balls enough to pull the trigger. So I'm still the same person. I'm still walking around with the same thoughts. I don't trust anybody. I'm good. I got one solid friend. I know that for now. All right, let me get back to the supers, because this is what I've been working on all week. That's why I didn't put a video out. And I'm going to get back to putting regular videos out. And listen, this right now is a teachable moment. And live Sundays, that's going to be, Hootie Live with Sunday. One person shouted me out, and I'm going to do lives every week at a certain time where everybody can get on and listen. And if they want to drop some knowledge on here, they can. I'm good with that. But like I said, I'm me. And you know something? All the things that I'm being accused of on the internet, I never address, because the person that is helping with my channel constantly asks me not to. But you know what? I ain't never got high. I don't drink. Occasionally, once in a while. And you see, I post it if I'm drinking a blue or something like that. But I hate junkies. I hate junkies like that Stacks piece of shit. I won't even mention his name, because I gave him 2,000 subs, then passed him in a week. And you know what? He's still calling up people trying to borrow money to pay for his monthly subscription. Out there calling people saying, I know you donated money to Hootie. Hootie don't want no money from anybody. All that does is cause me trouble in court, trying to get me on some kind of fraud shit. And we're going to get to that. This crackhead dope fiend. Ain't got 3 cents, living out of a basement like a troll under a bridge. Clowns. And I don't mind. You can make fun of the way I live. I lived good already. These guys ain't never started a car and had air conditioning in their life. So I'm good. I lived it. Tony Diego, most powerful family. Tony, it's very hard to say right now because they're all rebuilding. Because I'm like I told you, and listen, you could say Hootie was not even I wasn't. I was never even on record as an associate. But go dig into the neighborhood and you can ask anybody, where did you see Hootie? I always seen Hootie with a captain and an acting captain and 2 made guys. And another guy who they told to change his last name so they can make him. Okay? Because as long as one of your parents are Italian, you could get made now. So just go do your research on who Hootie hung out with. And those were my boys. That had nothing to do with part of life. But if I did go out and do something for them, it was out of love and respect. Respect for my mentor, who was Ronnie One Arm, and love for my boys that were part of the crew. You know what I'm saying? And that was me. But did I earn? Did I commit organized crime acts? I probably did. Because I did a few collections, and they put that in, Rico. So the 6 years I was away from the life, and they still pinched me, what can I do? I did. Now, what they were looking to hit me with? No. And what I got hit with? No. That wasn't worth it. Because there was guys walking out the door with higher titles than me in 18 months. But that's what they had me down as. I was in the streets. I was getting busy. So you can think and say whatever the fuck you want. Perks, some other shit somebody posted, and rocks. I wasn't even around when those things dropped. I had to ask somebody what that even meant. But you know what? I don't care. I really don't. I don't. Did I party back in the day when I had the Vicodins? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. But was I ever an addict, or did I take it to another level? Zero. Did I ever use Adderall to work out? 100%. I mean, I learned about Adderall later in life. And that don't put you on the knot. That shit get you. Wish I had some this morning when I was in the gym. I was dragging ass. But, so the strongest family, nobody can tell right now. Like I said, people say the life is dead. But I'm going to tell you this, the people aren't. And they're rebuilding. And there's people in place right now that are bosses, underbosses, and consigliers. So that is just restructuring. Bananas are strong as hell right now in the Bronx. They're keeping it, they're holding it down. And they ain't never lose power in Canada. You know what I'm saying? The Genovese, yeah, they're strong. But it's hard to say where they're at. These guys got so many legitimate businesses and so much legitimate money. And that makes you powerful, which you don't understand. The kind of power that comes with legitimate money. That's why people in the corporate world are so hard to take down. And they're committing more crimes than anybody in organized crime or in the streets. Money that you can't even see. Now, I'm going to touch on 2 things before I get to the supers. 2 things that I was schooled at a young age by some serious street guys. What up, Big Pippin? Bobby, I see you. 2 things. It doesn't make a difference. Now, when I was with a certain ex that's trying to ruin my life because I'm writing a book and I'm on YouTube with making 0 money. Crazy. I used, you got to take one for the team. So I used to watch the Housewives with her. So Jersey Housewives will give you a quick thing, right? This guy made his wife sign her name for some paperwork, which he could have probably took the time so she didn't have to go to jail. I think he had to do 4 years. He probably could have took 6 years so she didn't have to do a year or whatever. But she signed her name to $4 million. And look what came back to haunt her. If it was 7, 8 years later, so they lived good for a little while. No. See, why I don't consider myself successful, but I'm thankful and blessed because I'm still here at 40 plus, is because I never got to keep the money. People that make it and keep it, they're winning. They're winning. And you look at guys, certain guys that are shelved that were one in my crew and one that was close to my crew that I had love for and I had his back. They got shelved for life. But you know what? They got so much money, they won. Because you know what? They don't got to be in the life no more. They don't got to worry about Rico. They can come and go and spend time with their families, and they got all their money. And you know what? That one little rumor, it's the junkie rumor, it's the gay rumor, and it's the broke rumor. Those are the 3 things that ruin people in anything, from corporate to Hollywood to the streets. So one person starts a rumor that they're broke, and they just believe it. Because nobody wants to believe somebody has. Start a rumor he's rich. It's bullshit. No one will go anywhere with it. Start a rumor he's gay, which, practically ruined Big Daddy Kane's career, who's one of the greatest of all time, who I listen to constantly. And I know it was bullshit because he posed for Playgirl and people started that rumor, and that's when his career started to decline. But not in my heart. Big Daddy Kane will still be one of the best. But that what goes to show you. Then start the rumor Bernie Madoff's family's got no money. Made the Will Pump $750 million, and the Will Pumps flipped off the world and said, we're keeping it. We're not putting it back in for Granny to get her retirement money back that was stolen. Nah. So believe me, if people like that made $750 million off a guy like Bernie Madoff, his family's got money. So the rumor people want to live with, yes, Shylock money don't go away. And the smart people make the money, they put it in the streets. And don't care. That's what one people that I'm going to explain something to you. What a lot of people don't know about Cosa Nostra. They don't care because they never want the money back that they loan out. Because by the time you go bad on that money, you paid the money back that you borrowed already, then everything after that is gravy. That's why they made the rule, nobody gets killed over money. Disrespecting women. Now, if you're being disrespected over money, then you would get clipped. Now, you just sit here and say that you heard something else. Yeah, of course. You heard rules that were implicated and written so long ago. And nobody ever obeyed these rules. Because I'm here to tell you that I sat with people and watched them in high positions not obey the rules. Now, will I speak only for the crew? Yes, I can only speak for what I've seen. Am I an expert? No, not at all. But I can tell you what I've seen from high-ranking members, all the way to boss. Nobody obeys the rules in that section. And believe me, if nobody's obeying the rules in that section, it's going on throughout all the other sections. Because somebody who's still alive to today was not responsible, but kind of okayed the Frankie DeChico bombing. That was part of the family, which wasn't meant for Frankie DeChico, but then people want to say it was. Listen, Chicos are strong, very strong, which a lot of people didn't understand. They were on Bad Avenue a lot longer than other people and other crews, and were there a lot longer after them. The brothers, I used to tell you the theory, right? 3 brothers with a sister, that's a sister you didn't want to date. Because from the youngest to the oldest, if you beat one of them up, you got to fight them all. You might as well lose to the first one and get it over with, but that ain't the rules. Bay 8, Staten Island, got you, brother. 50, bring that back. Feds, we don't mess with them. We don't even want to write their names. It's like Candyman. Don't even speak it because they'll appear. I'm pretty sure they do, brother. Because whatever crews are out right now, no. Well, he's a serious dude, Nicholas. That's a serious dude. Even if they put him as the front runner. He's been waiting a long time to get that spot, and he earned it. All right, let's get back to this. So, like I was saying, don't believe the hype. It's just like the media, like Public Enemy said. Don't believe the hype. Now, I don't get political. I like Public Enemy. I don't like all the political stuff, which a lot of people don't know. Tupac wasn't a gangster. Tupac was never a drug dealer. Tupac was an activist that got involved with the wrong crew because he thought certain people in New York did a certain thing to him, which they didn't. I was in federal prison, and I heard it from the horse's mouth. So, but I knew that already, just not first-hand knowledge. Now I got first-hand knowledge of it. He just should have never got involved in all that gangbang because you're an actor. First of all, he's a good actor. And he was a decent rapper. He wrote poetry. You know what I mean? That's what he did. And he went to a performing arts high school. Very talented. But he should have stood in the lane that Public Enemy was in. The activist lane. Because he had that Black Panther background. You know what I'm saying? Listen, another thing. He grew up hood, he grew up ghetto, but he wasn't hood. He wasn't ghetto, but that was his persona. Go check out his interview on Venice Beach. I don't know the woman's name. She's not that popular anymore, but go check out his interview on Venice Beach back in the day. And he's like, I'm about to explode on a new platform with Coolio and Tretch from Naughty by Nature, because those were his homies, you know, and he repped Jersey with the Outlaws. So, because you got to remember, he went from the Bronx and Brooklyn, or Brooklyn and the Bronx, to Baltimore, to L.A., you know what I'm saying, and then back to New York. So that's where he met Jada Pickett in school and everything, and you know that was his real first love and all that. Made Will Smith insecure. Don Jacobs, bless you, brother. You know anyone from Baltimore, Maryland? Cleveland kind of controls that area, so there was some heavy hitters in Cleveland, and they're letting New York take the shine. They're sitting back, so you can't say. You know what I mean? Sal the Magic, that's my brother, 187. Salute, Paisan. Jindan. Luigi Mella. Number, love, and respect, baby. Young Jimmy T. Let's see what you got, brother. I'm over here digging this touch. You see what I mean? I don't even know how to use the computer. The first time I took out the laptop, I'm over here digging this touch screen. I know they got one of those. Used to go from Middle Village to Barcode, 42nd Street, right? Arcade. As a kid, you know how that went. That was me, right? No parental guidance. Kids would be jumped. You heard what I said. 42nd Street Arcade, chasing our asses back to the subway. 165th Coliseum, chasing our asses out of there. Ain't even no subway to get to. You got to get to the bus or get out of the neighborhood back into the right part of Queens, close to Van Wyck. And Albee Square Mall, one time. I mean, I went back after it. Only one time when it was Albee Square Mall. That's where the real 50 Cent used to be waiting. But he used to be waiting on people with the jewelry. Them 10-karat gold puff links, as you see me wearing one of the videos. John Gotti, Pablo Escobar, and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman in a room doing business. The same hit team that was out there for Paul would have been out there for El Chapo and Pablo if they ever came to the United States and sat with John Sr. Or they would have got tortured until Pablo told them all the money was buried in Colombia. Franco from Chicago. Let me get back to that. Reservoir Dog TV, that's a good one. You should put up who Franco from Chicago is. A lot of people don't know. And Ellie, Chicago, police officer that went down in her 20s, 2-month-old baby. Beautiful girl, beautiful woman, beautiful mother. That's a shame. Shout out to her and her family. I know they don't, people don't watch this stuff, but it's a shame. It's a shame. John Wolf, gangster rap, was underground for years before. Yeah, listen, let me explain something to you. Now, what happened was how Tupac took on the hood persona. He was from the hood, but he wasn't hood. It is the way that NWA did it for LA. Nobody in NWA was a gangster. Eazy-E was the closest because maybe he moved a few packages in a few trap houses or something like that back in the day, and they needed a front man. Ice Cube was a high school graduate who wrote poetry, who wrote everything for NWA. Eazy didn't write any of that. God bless Eazy, you know what I'm saying? But they weren't gangster rappers. Now, Ice-T, and I heard Ice-T say something recently, and this is how you know. All them years on Law and Order, now listen, if you go back to the movie Breakin', Ice-T was the MC. It's the early 80s. Now, he might have been affiliated and down with the Rolling 60s, right? Because you got to remember that was the first gang. Again, how gangs are formed is to stop other gangs from picking on an ethnic group, right? So the Rolling 60s were first, and then the Bloods. And Ice-T's old enough to go back with representation with the Rolling 60s. So everybody always thought, yeah, you know what? Probably closest to it was Ice-T, and that's why they used him for colors, right? So he's up on doing his thing, and you would think he'd be speaking proper, like, I play a cop on TV. And if you listen to guys that are on the corner selling, slinging, drinking a beer, chilling, and cops roll by, or yo, police is on us. That's how they talk. So when Ice-T was talking about what he plays on TV, instead of saying, I play a cop or a detective in, the SVU unit, Ice-T was like, I play police on TV. He still got that. You know what I'm saying? That's G mentality right there. And when you say the word police and you've been educated in the world, and Ice-T plays that part really, I wish they'd give him more screen time. because I never watched any of this stuff until 2015. Like I told you, I never watched The Sopranos until 2015. I didn't watch any of that stuff. I mean, Goodfellas, because you know a lot of the people in it. Donnie Brasco, you heard of a lot of those people. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you what puts Al Pacino above Robert De Niro. Carlito's Way is one. Forget about Scarface. Carlito's Way is one. Watch him in Carlito's Way. Watch the way he operates. That's how a real G trying to retire operates. But in Donnie Brasco, when they're on the boat and they're about to shoot Bruno, which bullshit, Bruno would have fucking took them all out. He says something to Donnie that's so G, people don't even realize it. You know, I mean, the Mickey Mantle statement, you get shelved for that. Comparing any boss to a baseball player. Don't get me, Mickey Mantle's the greatest, you know, and I got into baseball cards recently. I mean, you got to have money to invest, but, you know, right now it's taking a back seat. But he was the greatest of all, you know, baseball players of all time, taking Joey D out because he's just more popular. He gets the popular vote. But when he's getting carted away and they're telling Donnie, good job, and Donnie don't want to hear that shit. Al Pacino screaming, Shy Benzo, I'll shout you out next week, brother, and we'll answer your question on the live on Sundays. Because I'm only going to do lives on Sundays unless something else comes up, right? But he screams out, and pay attention to this. Donnie, don't say nothing. There'll be a mouthpiece there in the morning. That's such an old G saying. And he replicated it to the T. Now, did he play that character like it was supposed to be played? No, but it was a great character because that wasn't Benjamin Ruggiero at all. Benjamin Ruggiero was a stand-up, respected, wise guy with over 20 plus hits under his belt. Okay? Respected, wise guy. And died of cancer in jail. Sonny Black was the guy where Al Pacino betrayed at the end when he gets called in. And he came in like a man and took his lickings. Got clipped, and they cut his hands off for shaking hands with a cop. That's why his hands were cut off. But that they switched it all around. That really wasn't Benjamin Ruggiero, but it was a great character. I don't know who they based it on. They could have I know a lot of broken down wise guys they could have based that on. But definitely not Benjamin Ruggiero, lefty. He wasn't that guy. He died of cancer in jail, which was probably the only truth of the movie, that he had cancer, and the other truth about him having 20 plus under his belt. Being a May guy, you know? So yeah, listen to that. Robert De Niro ain't never had any of that. Don't get me wrong, the whole Godfather for the 70s things, that was cool. But Johnny in Mean Streets, one of Scorsese's first films, was more like a street guy than a mobbed up guy De Niro played. And you know, crazy. He plays crazy good. But Al Pacino's the guy. You know what I mean? If you wanna really look and see, there'll be a mouthpiece there in the morning telling him there'll be a lawyer there to talk for him. Don't say nothing. Ask for a lawyer. I mean, that goes back, and you got to pay attention to the little things like that. Now, Scarface. I know you guys all love this movie. So far-fetched, it's crazy because there was 1,000 Scarfaces, but they were under the radar when they came here from Cuba. You know, and most of them are legitimate businessmen today in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Because I actually had a beef. When I was younger, me and my boys were down there talking to a few Cuban cartel members' daughters. And, yeah, we got chased out of there by a few of the Cuban guys that didn't like us being there. They were older than us. But that's cool. Listen, I got no shame in that. Listen, it's what it is. Live to fight another day. I wasn't playing pussy. Excuse my language. I wasn't playing sissy. They had us out. No, what are you going to do? We got out of there. We didn't run. We just got out of there. There were some beautiful Cuban girls, too. But, Manolo. Look at that part. That's how a Cuban immigrant would have represented himself. Shout out to Angel Salazar, Chi-Chi. We partied a long time ago, me and him. And, you know, I don't know how his career turned out, but now, you know, he's a lot older. He's around Al Pacino's age, maybe a little bit younger. But Chi-Chi was the real deal. Living in Sunset Park, keeping it real, Cuban style. But Manolo's part, Brown, right? Something Brown. That guy. I'm not big on that shit. I like cinema. Don't like the artist. I like the art. Um, he played the Cuban immigrant correctly, living in Cocoa Beach and whatever that is, and telling them you go through the 3 years. It's like they got country clubs here. We've been in worse prisons in Cuba. What are you, nuts? Instead of going through all that bullshit. That's something a Cuban immigrant would have said back then. This is all little street knowledge where I'm usually going to get the live. All right? Arthur, forget. Let's go, guys. Love and respect. Global Media Incorporated. I got to get on you guys. Enough respect. Keep doing you. Appreciate you. Salute. Jindan. Joey Karate, you're a clown. You're a clown. But I keep you on here because I don't race anybody. Love what you did there with the dollar store. Euro. Rex. Sir Basio Rex. I can't even get that name out. Love and respect, baby. Appreciate you. I'm going to finish up with these super chats. Any questions? Gian, did you know of the Coco's nightclub in Huntington, Criteria 2000s, who that belonged to? No. Now, gotta remember, a lot of Bananos, Sonny Francis. I don't know if that was 2000, but he ran all Long Island. And it could have been a Lucchese place, if I'm not mistaken. We never really hit up Coco's. Club G, I think, Metro 700s. Really sprats on water and land. There's only a few Long Island places I'm very familiar with. Listen, I wasn't familiar with Long Island until 2016. Yes, there's got to be Brad Tumolino. Love that name. Tolomeo. Look at me not being able to pronounce my own last name. That's a beautiful last name. Yeah, there's something wrong with him. Something wrong with him. He has all these things that he takes medication for and everything else that I've never put his business out there. And he's out there trying to stab me in my back and perjuring himself, signing shit against me for family court shit. Yeah, with my ex. He's a sneaky dude. He's a dope fiend. You can't expect nothing else. And I'll put that boy on the record real quick. My lawyer's going to put him on the record. Because I'm going to do this legit with these guys. That's what you have to do. Because I'm a legitimate person, like I said. I'm not going to be a rat scumbag. Because I think anybody who say their asses against guys who are gunning for them, they're not rats. I don't consider any of the people I associate with rats. Whatever they did, cooperate, they ain't rats. Big Cole's a rat, and we'll get to that. Gian. Is Bobby Glasses a Mad Hatter? No. No. Well-respected, well-rounded in controlling himself in the life. Well-rounded in the life? No, because I had many sit-downs with him. I didn't even have to, because you got to remember, I knew him before he was a made guy. As an acquaintance, meeting and passing. Very well respected. I had a lot of respect for him. Once I found out what he did and who he did it to, lost all respect. They were a good family. They were good people. He made a mistake, and he didn't get straightened out. You got to remember, I always tell the story. I was there when we went for like a lunch dinner. I always tell you how it was time of day. It wasn't everything. And to be honest with you, captain of my crew, young kid, was straightened out before him. Or around the same time as him. I can't really put a nail on that time frame. I will when I get around to thinking about it. John Wolf, I wonder if he's out of East Tennessee. We're gonna get to all of them. Oh, so you guys are messing up here. That's the last one in the super. I appreciate. I didn't know about any of this. That's why I wanted to touch on this first. So, I know these guys complain about the lighting, right? We keep it hood, but we got to keep the lighting up. Right? No. But he was smart because he stayed out of the business, and I said like a lot of things, especially the bookmaking, where I had to have a sit down with the kid that was running a bookmaking operation for him, which I won. All times, the situations went my way. Not won, but went my way, because no money came out of my pocket. But no, he wasn't a Mad Hatter. He wasn't a Mad Hatter at all. He got straightened out late in life, jumped to captain, and he was Sicilian and trustworthy, and those are the guys you want. Those are the guys they want in position. Now, somebody said, which I'm pretty much they're correct on, 90 guys, 10 are hitters. Yes. Now, people used to say, you straighten out a hitter or you straighten out a guy earning. Now, you never used to straighten out guys to watch the guys that earned, right? But then it switched up, right? I mean, I can only talk about what I've learned and I've heard from captains and hierarchy, right? Guys that follow the rules always get straightened out from day one, you know? One of the guys came part of the crew later on, but wasn't part of our inner circle. Wasn't built like that. And he sent a certain hierarchy, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 a month for about a year or two. Listened, obeyed the rules, and the guy came home and straightened them out. Those are the guys that get straightened out, you know? And then good earners got straightened out. People that listen, you know? I always heard a rumor, who to me was, you know, a gangster of gangsters, was Ronnie One Arm, right? I don't know this to be true because I wasn't around. I can only talk about what I was around, but I wasn't around the inner circle at the time. That you either straighten out a guy like that or you kill him. To me, that's a Mad Hatter. Now, Mad Hatter can be a Tommy DeSimone and Albert Anastasia, guys that just ran around, a Jimmy Burke, that ran around just doing it. Or Mad Hatter's a guy that when it's time to put it in, he can put it in at any moment. You could be out with him on a Friday night having a few drinks, and he'll put that work in. To me, he's a Mad Hatter. I don't care if he wasn't running around like Joey Gallo or Albert Anastasia or... Listen, I mean, Fat Andy and Tony Lee were Mad Hatters in my book. You know, more, you know, Fat Andy. But I know guys that were capable and would have done it at any moment. As I get so dried up talking about this. But that was the problem with my book. And when it's officially going to edit, maybe I'll have the author tell you about that. Very emotional for me. Very hard to talk about guys that I had love for. And there's nothing in it that's gonna, you know, that's bad. It's all true. Nothing, a lot of stuff that was done is left out. Just the stuff that I know people need to hear. But, I mean, I couldn't get off the first 2 chapters. Because I just was just like, listen, should have been done, finished, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to get published. Things are set back. I'm not, you know how, you know, book companies work, but even if I said it to edit tomorrow, it might get set back a year. You don't know. It all matters how it gets pushed out, how I'm willing to work to get it published and to, you know, put publicity out there about it, which I'm going to. And that's why I was told, you know, like, quit while I'm ahead. There's no ahead here because I don't do this for the money. I do this for one person that wants to listen and pay attention. And there's always teachable moments. And we're going to get into that, right? Now, my genre is, you know, true crime. I'm not part of the mob genre because I wasn't part of the mob. I'm not part of the gossip because I don't gossip. I'll tell you what it is that you could take, learn from it, and also get entertainment from it because it's real street knowledge, right? Somebody asked me about Richie. Well, yeah, there was a guy, Joey, shout out down south Joey, my man. Love it. Repost that pic, Joey, and tag me. Listen, we had a kid, and listen, we had a few kids, but there was one that standed out more than anybody, and hopefully I'll mention his name one day. Just want to, you know, we didn't roll like that. His boys and I did, but for some reason, me and him never clicked. We went to elementary school together. We lived a block away from each other. But he never liked me. So I think he never liked me, but I don't think he liked anybody. But he was as closest to Richie from Out to Justice as they come. Did the Cosa Nostra get him when they were in their prime, give him a beating, trunk him. Yeah, they did things like that, but he's a Mad Hatter, true Mad Hatter. But he respected the guys that he grew up with when he was younger, but they respect him for no. He respected him as could he have after what they did to him because he was always in trouble as a kid. Just walk in the club and take them all out 100%. Don't think for a second when guys talk about things they did to him because they were 10 years old. And I tell people, like, somebody reached out to me and it was like, yeah, like you were offered a platform to rebuke me. What did you know about me? Yeah, you knew me since I was 12. But when a guy's 20 and you're 12, it's a little bit, you don't know. I mean, I know the guy ain't a wise guy. I know the guy not a street guy. He's living at home with his mother. I know all of that, But you got a certain respect because he's an older guy, gets you out, gets you into clubs, and you kind of like the guy a little bit. He's getting the women, he's hanging out. You like that. So you like him. And I did like him. I did. I'm not going to front. But over the years, growing up, because certain family members I had love for, I let him be, And I don't care if he thinks he's tough or he could fight. I would have baseball batted him. I would have bled him out. I didn't care about that shit. To me, you ain't going to make a punk out of me or chase me out of my neighborhood back then. But I never let it come to that out of respect for certain family members. In like 18 years or 15 years, he calls me up crying and complaining how it's all bullshit. I shouldn't say this about a certain captain. I shouldn't do this. All of a sudden, it's like, you weren't even there. Even his family was like, what is the guy talking about? He wasn't even around life like that. And he wants to talk about what you were doing? I know what you were doing. He sure doesn't. But whatever. He could think what he wants because, we clowned, we hung out, we went to clubs together, we spent time together. But I was young, And he wants to call and jump in my business. And instead, he exposed people. He exposed women, what they did behind my back. I didn't. And they want to be mad at me for putting it out there. They put it out there. They want to put my address out. I don't care. My address out there, my real name. What do I care? My birth name. I'm not these guys that if I'm going to get on here and talk, you're going to know who I am. You're going to know where I am. And they know. So if they're sitting on me, they're sitting on me. I told everybody. You heard me say it on Vlad, and I live by it. If they're going to get me, it's going to be somebody that's capable, trying to make a name for themselves. It's going to walk up and put one behind my head, regardless if my head's on a swivel or not. I'm not carrying. I'm not holding. I'm never going to. Listen, I know they always say, you'd rather have it and not need it than not have it and need it. No. I'm good. I don't need to take a 5-year bid in Queens or Long Island or anywhere like that. Maybe if I was in the Bronx, I would grew up a little differently. So, we're going to get back to the two things that I was always told and why I was talking about the Jersey Housewives earlier. She signed her name to a few things. He signed his name to a few things, $4 or $5 million worth of shit, whatever it was. And whatever it was, 7 years later, they caught up to them. And that's one. There's two government agencies, and some of them, one of them is also involved in the state, that you don't mess with. The IRS and Family Court. They come before, listen to me, they get, if you ever get a paycheck, they get theirs first. First Family Court, then the IRS. So you don't play around. I've only been on a W-2 form any of my working career. Eventually, if I get into something that's a 1099, if the book ever does something, which books don't make money, I'll be on a 1099 or something else, then that will be different. As of now, no. Okay? The merch was shirts and hats, and I took a loss on that. That was my own money. So, you never sign your name to anything. It don't make a difference if it's $10 million. Because they're going to get you. Well, why go to jail for $10 million? Right? Freedom's not your freedom. They can't put up, you used to have that old commercial. 2 tickets to the Yankee game. 3 hot dogs. A balloon. A helicopter ride. Spending time with your family. Priceless. Well, sign your name for something. Committing fraud. $40 million. $20 million. Well, maybe $40 million. But it's $4 million, $5 million isn't worth your freedom. It's priceless. So, one, going back as a kid, as far back as 12 years old, never sign your, well, I'll go back as 14 on who schooled me, the guy from Brooklyn. around Little Nicky Carrazzo's crew. And I say Little Nicky because that's his nickname. He ain't little in no means. Never lost a sit down and will bust your hole. Okay? So, never sign your name to anything for $1. Never withdraw anything from an account that isn't yours. It's 4 million worth 5 years. No, it's not. Because the mental strain that it puts on a mind that isn't ready for prison, $4 million is not worth 5 years of your freedom. And now, whatever people had to do for their crews to make it and to move up, that's different. Me, stick ups and home invasions. First of all, you got a Hobbs Act. Hobbs Act, you never want to get involved in. Brandishing a weapon in sight of another crime with the feds, you don't want to ever get. I mean, I was with a kid, I told you, in the feds. He was a young African American, and he was a crack dealer, but he wasn't claiming. And they were starting to victimize him. And he was ready to take his 10 for the money he made in crack sales, which wasn't a lot for 10 years, but to them, growing up in the hood, it was a lot. And he had a lot of money saved. So he was good taking the 10. But he took it too far and kept pushing them. Wanted to see his paperwork, wanted to see his witness list. And this is something I try to teach him. You could get a witness list, right? And I could be a witness. You could be a witness. But that doesn't mean that you hurt them or went against them. They give you a list, and there could be a lot of names on there. And this is just something I might have said during my allocution. You know, you got to allocute when you cop out in the feds. And this is something we're going to get to with that scumbag Lee Cole, piece of shit with the squirrel on his face. Which, you know, I told him that I'd leave him alone, and I told him that I wouldn't bring up his past, which I won't do. I told him no matter what, and I left this off, which is a scumbag thing that he went on and mentioned my name recently, and put it against Fat Boy Tassin, who me and him didn't have a relationship, and neither did him and Gene. Okay, he put that out there the wrong way, and I'm gonna explain that. So let's just talk about the home invasion, because people are gonna say I'm jumping all over the place. I'm not. Pay attention and keep up. It's just street stuff. Keep up. Home invasions and stick-ups, right? A robbery homicide is one of the worst crimes you can ever, even if it's a mistake. You know, listen, Jimmy Calandria, for instance, someone just brought that up. You know, listen, me and Jimmy got our problems. I correct him, I write him. But you know what? He's taking a stand. And he told me from the beginning, if it ain't putting out a positive message and it ain't putting money in his pocket, he's not going to do it. He's not putting out a positive message with Sammy, but he's putting money in his pocket. And I respect that because he told me that's what he was going to do. He said, I don't know why he went on Lee Cole's show, I guess because me and him weren't told, but he was supposed to come on my show because his words, you try to change the lives of people in the life. I can appreciate that. When I was walking into my Vlad interview, and that's why I shouted him out on Vlad the way I did, okay? Keep it real. I got no reason to lie to my supporters because I love my supporters. I love them. You guys are real. That's why, you know, listen, I'm hoping next time, Etsy. I got a contract with Etsy, okay? You can go on and check out the new hoodie t-shirts. I'm just putting it out there as a trial run. There's no money. Etsy's one of the highest percentage websites, so it almost breaking even, which I'll claim on my taxes at the end of the year as well. But it's one of the most highest. So I'm just putting it out there as a trial run because people have been asking for t-shirts. If you just want to send money in for the hats, Lisa, I see that, and we're going to talk about you, appreciate you, love you. Something I didn't ask for, but thank you so much. But you could go on BrooklynQueens at iCloud.com. Hit me with the 45 with the shipping for the hats. And that's the only reason is to get t-shirts separate from Etsy. Different style. Etsy designed the shirts, put them up, put them out, and they run the site. I ain't got nothing to do with them. Go to Etsy, punch in Hoodie Social Club, and you'll see the t-shirts. They got models and everything modeling them. That's why I don't make any money on that. That's just to give it a trial run and see how we do. But they were the best website to do it with. And I know a lot of people go on there. They buy wallets. They buy keychains. There's a lot of things you get on Etsy. So I was familiar with them. And you can go on there and get a hoodie t-shirt. But that is no proceeds go to me. That's just to get the name out there and the brand. Because that's where I want to be. I want to be in the fashion, which, like restaurants, 8 out of 10 fail. So, like this, I'm not making anything, but I'm not failing. And with every failure in a situation is a learning experience. And I failed a million times. That's why when I heard that statement, and I talk about it a lot, and we're gonna get back to the second one. We're not jumping, but just to go, yeah, they shout out him to get back at me, and we're gonna explain that. He's a garbage pail. So, and I don't. I talk when I say garbage pail. When I say a word, I mean it. And that's why I don't use the word rat. I live still by the jail rules. You don't invite nobody to your dick, and you don't call nobody a rat. You don't call nobody a punk. That's homo. That's the lowest grade anybody in the world can ever be. Excuse me for no manicure this week. I was out in the woods, and the garbage. Piece of shit. I mean, listen. Like I said, inviting somebody to your dick and a punk is the same. I'll put them as the same. And calling somebody a rat. Those are punishable by death in jail to this day. So there's no, shout out C Murder. I see Boozy on there shouting him out. I followed that case. I was a big No Limit fan. I didn't do the South music besides, Scarface. He's part of the GOAT on my list. Shout out to my man bringing up the Dipset. I know you got love for the Dipset, but, maybe Jim Jones but 50 played him with that whole Latin King thing, busting up his boys. But you don't know, it's all media shit. You don't know how this shit was done. But I don't know them to say I don't like them. I'm not about what they're about. I know what they did to Mace. I know how Cameron used to abuse Mace until Mace came up with his sandals and his ripped up shorts and tore up a freestyle. And then they signed him. And then Puffy jumped on him. There's a lot of stuff behind it, that guys don't know about. But shout out to Jada, not the Locks. Jada didn't need them. I got nothing against the Locks, but one of them let one of them finish a bar. I mean, they never get to finish a bar on any song. Someone's always jumping in to finish that bar. Stop being cheerleaders. But listen, they made the greatest, part of the greatest music of mine, coming up, that hip hop. I never wanted hip hop to die. It was on its way out, And a lot of guys like Jay-Z and 50, even though I don't respect, a lot of things that 50 did. Well, that's a story. That's a show for another day, not even a story. So, with that, just wanted to jump on the Dipset real quick. That's a lot of reasons why. And Jules, his whole thing, wasn't hearing it. But shout out C Murder. That was a bullshit case. Guys give them nicknames. And those guys, listen, they probably would have been G's. But Master P was going to go professional in basketball, going to college, even though they were from the craziest hood in New Orleans. Let me tell you about that. Well, let's say Louisiana. They're from the wards. The wards are like, every ward's like a Brownsville, East New York. So you're talking about, we got one Brownsville in East New York. They got dozens. Those wards are no joke. Every single one of them. And that's where they came up from. They were hood for real. But Master P was making money at such a young age that his family didn't have to go out and do any of that bullshit. But they took on these names. Mac 10. Come on. Was that the West Coast something they were? I just didn't like their music, Listen, Cube's a great writer. I just don't like his lyricists. Don't get me wrong. Today was a good day. Didn't have to pop the trunk and pull out the AK. Yeah, all right. But his writing was good. I just didn't like that West Coast spin. We're gonna get to the second one. Relax. I'm just touching on some things that people were writing. And what's his name? From Compton. Well, he won some serious awards in poetry and everything else. And he's not G'd up, but he grew up in the hood and he's an activist. And he's pumping some real good lyrics. It's just that, you know what? I don't try to act like I know what anybody, past or anything else, coming from. Because listen, we could all lose parents. We can all be shot. We can all grow up in a different ghetto or hood. But everybody takes things differently. So no, I don't know. Even if the person's been through the same thing I've been through, what they're going through. Because their mindset might be different than mine. So I never say, sorry, man, listen, I know what you're going through. I don't. So when they're kicking knowledge on this activist stuff, I don't know what their hoods are doing. I can only talk about what my hood was doing. you know? And they want to say because it was Italian and Irish and Puerto Rican and Jewish and Polish that it's not. It is. It is. Um, Compared to the other Italian and white kids that were just living it up, driving BMs, and we were jumping in Chrysler Ariuses, and six of us to pile up and go hang out at Franny Lou. You know, when we were kids, we didn't have that luxury. So yeah, we were. So there's these guys that are activists and from the hood, and they're not hood. Kendrick Lamar, right? Guy's unbelievable, but I can't relate to his music because I can't relate to his struggle, and I won't act like that. I can relate to Jay-Z's struggle. I can relate to what he was doing, coming home with the stomach grumbling. I know what that's like, but not realizing it. I can know what the crack game was like. He got away with it. Good for him. But I can't relate to the Kendrick Lamars. Tupac I can relate to, but not the activist part that he, from his Black Panther, which he should have stood away from the gangster stuff. Still with that, he'd be good. He wanted to beef with everybody. You're an actor. You're a rapper. You could have been, back then when they making that kind of money, you're not. He probably didn't really see money till he hit California. Because you had Suge, who was a bodyguard running the show. But don't take anything away from him, because I ain't never seen a showing like that guy made. And he ain't even from New York. When I tell you them Bloods were lined up to see him representing their sets like no other. And that's why I try to tell people. And something I was talking about when, listen, Cosa Nostra will get you. They might get 15 guys to do something, but they'll sit on you. These gangs will do drive-bys and an innocent person will get killed. But, Blood makes a call and there's 50 dudes. And believe me, they're strapped up and they're shooting from the crowd. You'll never know who did it. They'll never catch the murderer. Like the guy putting one in the back of my head. You'll go, the government, the state care about me? Give the guy 20 years. Maybe manslaughter, 7.5 to 15. Be home in 6 on work release. By then they'll start taking violent crimes back to work release. So it's just like that. You can't beat guys that have no religion, country, or family in their lives, So, might be a bodyguard, but did he have backing? So, second thing, you never go into somebody's house, somebody's place, and stick them up, tie them up. Accidents happen. And then there's 4 or 5 guys involved, and that was wrong. That was an accident. I know the story. I spoke to Jimmy, and I'm not going to sit here and boost up Jimmy because I don't believe in it. The stories that he tells don't help kids. I don't believe in any of that. But he chose the money. So I get that. I respect it because he told me. Money or putting a message out there. He chose the money. And that's why whatever I received a clip about Sammy and him, he's still talking that gangster stuff or whatever. That's cool. But that was an accident. The woman wasn't supposed to be home. I heard the story firsthand. And you know what? Tommy Reynolds stood up and took that. And took the murder of his friend. And took, even though that was wrong, and the woman, both were wrong. And you know what? He took it. He took it. Maybe he didn't flip or he didn't turn because he wanted to be punished for what he did. So when these people, and that's why guys like Lee call fake. Intelligent, dumb as a bag of rocks. No street knowledge. You can't go from talking about gangsters to Johnny Depp's career, which is one of my closest friends' favorite actors. So shout out to that. But you can't go from talking about. So to me, he's a gossip column. TMZ is his genre. You know what I'm saying? Wendy Williams. He's just a mouthpiece. And if you listen to him and just follow his shows, because I don't even follow his shows. I follow the clips that people send me in my DM. And he contradicts himself and everything. And people keep saying, I don't contradict myself. I just talk about a million things so guys could get, I try to touch on everything that my supporters ask me. So it's not that I'm all over the place. And I got so much content, I'm going to be here. I'm going to outlast everybody. So I could do this. And the live on Sundays is just something new. On the 4556, I got to get to you. You'll be shouted out next Sunday and I'll read your comments now that and how to work the laptop that's 10 years old. Where are we? happens in lives. This is real. Let me pull this out real quick. Shout out to Supreme Sunday, even though you know what I say, right? Fuck a Supreme Saver bait. Just found out from the manager. He moved to Madison. I haven't been really into the streetwear recently. It's a little old morph. Shout out to Chris for breaking it. Then replacing it on Chris's behalf. So yeah, we'll do the lives, and you'll get the content during the week. I'll be dropping episodes. I'm gonna try to drop. I really want to drop something every day, but there's so much BS going on, and people put me in certain genres and put me in things that I wasn't involved in, and it's like, bro, nobody from my case is coming at me. It's people outside my cases that want to come for me, and I know they want to come for me because they move in silence and violence. The real ones. Biggie, number one of all time. So, now, old timer was involved in bookmaking, shylocking, and street ventures, you know? No drugs, no stick-ups, no robberies, because we can tell that story. I'm going to do an episode on that story. Robbing one of their bookmakers. Not me. Somebody did, and it's funny that what he said. But he goes, come on, I know you're a drug dealer. He goes, so you take a kilo, half a kilo. I don't know what you guys buy or do. He goes, and you whack it up. One, you're by yourself, so you got to worry about nobody else. You don't got to worry about the Benjamin Franklin statement. We could keep a secret if two are dead. I don't even know if Benjamin Franklin really made that statement. That was a Carlos Masala statement, but I don't even know if he made that because I can't talk on that. What I can tell you is he became one of the most powerful bosses in the country because of Frank Costello and the blessing of the old New Orleans boss and the blessing of the boss that used to run New Orleans, his father-in-law. So, but they threw him into the jungle with loafers on, and they made it home. So shout out to that. But when they did the whole Kennedy thing and didn't get permission from the five families, Costello was out by then. And yeah, I think he was out by then. He was no longer the prime minister of Cosa Nostra. I think he got shot, and that was when he survived that whole thing. I just don't know. I got to check the time frame. I don't talk about things that were, non-existent in my lifetime. But these are just, it's history, and I wasn't part of the Cosa Nostra to be involved in that history. I'll give you the history of the streets. But Carlos Marcel got put in position because of Frank Costello's power and his politicking. And then they spit in New York's face when they did that to Kennedy. And that's why the permission from Russell Buffalino and Angelo Bruno went to New York. And they were like, it's your guy, do what you got to do. Thank you for asking. And you always know that I was the guy that always had to ask for forgiveness, never permission, which I never asked for forgiveness, but it's just a saying. The only person I ask forgiveness is my higher power. If I've disappointed him in any way, whoever that higher power may be for me and anybody else. Shout out to Ron. Ron, we'll get to you next week, big dog. So if people that are just joining me, I apologize for the statement that there wasn't enough people on the live because it wasn't meant. I was breaking chops. If you know me, that's who I am. If one person's listening, I'm happy I made this statement before. This is for the new people jumping on. Shout out to Ellie, who just got taken down in Chicago, and Ali for bringing a lot of awareness to me while I was in Chicago about, save Chicago. Chicago needs a lot of help, people. I can't even say it was like Watts or Compton in the 60s, and the only riots in New York besides that whole thing with, trying to shut down the city and the BLM and all that stuff that happened in downtown Manhattan. But Chicago's had it bad, real bad. And I've been to Chicago in the West and the South and sides, and it's bad, man. And there's these New York reporters need to get down there and start reporting. And again, shout out to C Murder, been away 20 years, 20 plus years. You got to get him out. Even if, listen, he paid for his sin. There's been guys that committed murders that got much less time and they're home now. So see, which I know from watching the case, I can tell I'm a true crime guy. He didn't do it. But say he did. He paid his debt to society. And on top of that, he's going to come home to a successful life. He's never even going to piss a dirty urine again. I'm not saying he did in the past, but just in general. So shout out to C Murder, Bougie, good looking out going on a Vlad clip and shouting him out. Let's get C Murder home. Biden's all about, diverse and all this other BS. Let's get him out. I mean, I don't know politics, so I don't know him. I just, heard something about it on Apple News. I don't watch the news. I read some of it, and I read the newspaper every day. People know that about me, the Daily News and the Post, when I get to the newsstand. So, he said, we're going to get back to 14 years old. You can make more money whacking up whatever drugs that you're selling by yourself without anybody else being able to implicate you in something such as a capital crime, if it does happen, because eventually it will, if you do so many of these home invasions and stick-ups, and make your money that way. You don't want that crime, and Cosa Nostra's against it, Even guys that were doing it in Cosa Nostra for certain made members were getting in trouble by the captains and the bosses of that same brigada for doing that. And they were following the rules. This is why I try to tell you, no, those rules you hear these made guys talking about online and guys that were in there, no, they don't exist, because that's another brigada. I'm not even talking about the Gambinos. That the hierarchy was fuming what he did, but a made guy was justifying it to him to do it. So they all break the rules. The rules that you hear about that these guys talk about with sit downs and this and that. And you know what? They all be wiped out. Because it's BS. And okay, you can make the statements. Hootie wasn't even an associate. You're right. I'm in a true crime genre. I'm not in the gossip genre, and I'm not in Cosa Nostra or mob or mafia, whatever you want to call it, genre. I'm not. It's not my lane. It's not my platform. My platform is the Hootie Social Club. Representing anybody that wants to do better with their life, such as way off track from what I talk about, like Bell's Tells, representing things like that. I'm all for that. Where other people like, what are you doing? That's not good for your platform. You're a mob genre, and I got rid of that person. Now that person's trying to help Stacks to hurt me. They can't hurt me. They can't hurt me. What did Scarface say? There's nothing you could do to me that the beard of Fidel or Castro hasn't done already. However he said it. There's nothing you could do to me they haven't done already, except put me under the jail. They've been trying to do that for a long time. But for what? I'm no kingpin status, no murderer. So what happened with that was, in the 6 years that I stood away from guys that were part of Cosa Nostra, when I came home for my state bid, for them, for the life, because they were the life at the time, they try to put me. Lisa, sweetheart, love you. Stay well, my friend. We'll talk more next week on all of yous. I will. I'm live with Hootie Sundays, Supreme Sunday. So they infiltrated me in 2 heinous crimes that I never committed, to go along with the junkie statement, to go along with testifying against people to get them 50 years. Some other person 25 years, and we're going to touch on that, because I got the information and gave it to the person that was saying that, and then they went on and told a lie. And you know what? That's going to ruin them. They should have kept it real with the truth. I gave them the literature. And believe me, I tell you this all the time. Go on Jerry Capisi, and he'll give you the minutes of people's sentences that were anybody in the life or had to do with the life. He gives you what was said in the court. Again, he sits first and second row. So, I'm in this to kick knowledge, not Benzes. There's never going to be money in this for me. But as long as I got that 120 listening, that's 119 more than I expected. Okay? So, swore off robberies, swore off using a weapon to make money, swore off signing my name to anything. Now, if you were married or you were involved in an ex, they got your old passports, they got your old license, they got your social security number, they got everything. They can go online today and open up accounts under your name and move and shake money if they got money to do that with. And they could do it all from a burner phone that can never be linked back to them. I've had burner phones, so I know you can have a burner smartphone now in today's day and age, and it never seeing your face on camera, because you know how they say this, No, paper crimes, you never got to be caught on camera. So yeah, but that's why I keep one debit card. I have one account, and that's it. No credit cards, no other debit cards, no other accounts. There was Venmo accounts set up. There was, PayPal accounts, but those accounts are zero. They got people, and I can say this without any embarrassment, that helped me out because I was not down and out, but I couldn't afford to do other things that I needed to do to keep going in life in the direction I wanted to, that were generous enough to slide money into my account that is available to anybody, law enforcement and all, which I will be taking into family court because this is what this whole thing is about right now with me. That's their big news, which we're going to get to. So if somebody, out of the kindness of their hearts, sends me a few $100s to put insurance on my new car, that's not a donation. It's not charity. I don't have to write that off. That was a friend looking out for a friend, or an acquaintance looking out for an acquaintance. And they had this Bill Stacks calling people, even in Europe, on WhatsApp. He didn't even know how to use WhatsApp. My ex had to show him, saying, you donated money to Hootie. And he said, I've never donated money in my life. Hootie's a friend, not an acquaintance, not somebody that I even watch more. A guy that I call 3 o'clock in the morning and he answers the phone because I need to talk, because I need to get something off my chest. And that's where and where I realized he went from an acquaintance to a friend. Because he heard my content, he believed in my content, and he reached out to me, and we're good friends now. And shout out to you, 827, my man, 50 grand from the homeland. And then people come on here and call me a wigger and call me whatever you want. I'm diverse. I ain't racist. I ain't biased. You may even take conversations of me talking like that. That's fine, because that's the way I talk. I talk urban. If I'm going to say a certain word, hold it against me. Don't talk to me. Don't give me a deal. I don't care. I just lost out on a $125,000 deal. So, because of my ex. Her loss in family court, she can't get 30% of that. That's her problem, not mine. She wanted to go and do that. She was responsible for me losing a $100,000 a year job where I had to go to work for minimum wage. And then she wants to be in court talking about money. It ain't about money. It's about me crawling in a hole and disappearing because some people are narcissists and sociopaths and don't want to see people that they know be liked by other people. Now, I don't whine. I don't cry. I don't complain. I fail. I don't talk about the failures. I talk about failures so you guys can know. Like Joey. Shout out to Joey, who's supposed to be on here already, but he's been going through a little something, so I'm giving him some time because that's just the type of guy I am. I need to put that out there for him and other people. Failure is a part of succeeding. I know you hear that a lot. It kind of sounds like an oxymoron for a lot of people you don't know is like an opposite, but runs into how trying to be the same because it runs parallel with each other. And it keeps failure and success are supposed to be nemesis. They're not. They're allies, which a lot of people don't realize. How many times you need to fail before you succeed. The one thing I don't agree in is that, and listen, no disrespect to recovering addicts. I'm all for it. I got shitted on by recovering addicts trying to help them, but the junkie comes out in them if they don't really work the program, and this is what happens. But relapse is not a part of recovery. It's not. It's an excuse. It's an excuse to take a day off. And guess what? No free lunch. We don't take days off. Just like Cosa Nostra said in my segment with the Vinny Gorgeous story. There's no days off in this life. There's no days off in recovery. And relapse is not part of it. It's just an excuse. No free lunch. It's an excuse to go out and live life on your terms. And you've heard me say this a lot. Teachable moments here for the streets. Guys in the street live life on their terms. And even though a guy like Stacks ain't from the streets, just because he grew up in a poor area, he's not from the streets. He's not a street guy. Just because he was part of a gang that did nothing makes him even more not of a street guy. and you guys that are shouting them out and putting them in Cosa Nostra. And now all of a sudden, I'm hearing that he's trying to say he has like a great uncle that was Italian. Like, really? Is what you guys really want to? But that's why his subs hasn't moved, and that's why he hasn't made money. You gotta put in the views. Get to 5,000, and get to 100,000 plus views, and you'll make a little bit of money, not much. I haven't reached that myself, so he hasn't reached that. So I know he's still making monthly payments that he can't afford, and still trying to borrow money from people. Because I paid for it. I gave him the money, cash in hand. He's never gave me $1 when he goes on and talks about charities and these guys nuts. What happens when he gets, listen, and now you're talking about a cop caller, talking about that that committed perjury. You just want to talk about street guys. Listen, I'm a 100% legitimate guy today, and I won't call the cops. So don't use that as an excuse because you're a legitimate guy and you pay taxes. Well, you don't pay taxes because you still ain't got a job. Because you can't work a job. You can't even lift a box. So knock it off. Weak as hell. So when you hear people like that lying, it's like, and then you hear other Cosa Nostra guys that, now you guys keep telling me about May. Guy's a May guy shouting this guy out. He's putting up posts. Where's this mob talk he's supposed to do? You know, like, are you kidding me? This guy knows nothing. He ain't even smart enough to pick up a book and get knowledge on Cosa Nostra to talk about it. He sits with guys that used to be involved hardcore that he has no idea. He interviewed a guy, I still won't mention it because he's going to realize how bad he messed up and try to get the guy back. And he could, every time the guy said something, he'd look at the camera and go, guy's interviewing himself because you have no idea what to ask him. Then he gets, I tell you all the time, which we're not friends, but we're not enemies, me and the Fat Bald's the same. He doesn't believe in the lifestyle I chose because, you know, he may think certain things about me, which was the only time I spoke to him. And people want to say, oh, Lee Cohen said he spoke to Hootie and he spoke to Gene. No, he didn't. And I reached out because I couldn't get in touch with Lee Cole because he was spreading fake rumor. I don't care if you're talking truth. Talk truth. I'm not worried about what people say. But I reached out and said, because I knew that he was somewhat media friends with him, I would say. And I said, I need to get in touch with Lee Cole. And what's up with you mentioning my name? He mentioned my name once. And I didn't have to go on camera and say, like, Lee Cole, you don't talk about me, I won't talk about you. No, I handled it like a man handles it. And FBS did the same thing. I said, you spoke about me, I never spoke about you. There's no reason to speak about me. I'm not part of your genre that you're talking about. I'm not part of whatever it is that you're doing, your campaign or anything else. As long as, you know, listen, I'll stick up for Gene till the end. I don't see him, I can't talk to him, but I will, because I know what he's about. And people hate me for that. People want to get me for that. Whatever. But as long as I'm not brought up, we're good. And that's all I said. And he's like, you're right. And he'll tell you. He goes, you leave me alone, I leave you alone. Well, I don't have to leave you alone because I got nothing with you to have started with. And I said, but by the way, I need to speak with Lee Cole. He says, well, punk move by Lee Cole. You don't want to give out his number. He want real sissy shit. I was like, well, here's my number. Have him call me. And then he went on and said we spoke about it. We spoke, but not about it. We emailed. And I got the emails, which I'm not that kind of punk that goes out, that's a rat move and show people snapshots and emails. But he wrote it in an email to try to set me up because he's a rat. He's a rat. He's an undercover rat. Okay? He'd been pinched over 4 times and never did a day. Okay? Walked out. Nobody walks out being pinched 4 times. It's a rat. I don't need to see paperwork because those deals are made behind closed doors, so there's no paperwork. Right? Because if there's no charges filed, if there's just a warrant for a person of interest, those could be dropped. Oh, that was dropped. Oh, this was dropped. Yeah. Because you did what you were supposed to do to get yourself out of it. You're a scumbag lowlife. And that's it. You don't even belong to... Did you hear him even talk about Cosa Nostra? He can't pronounce names, situations, dates, nothing. Another guy, pick up a book. These guys want to use Google, like Stacks, because they can't pick up a book. And Stacks, called the cops on me already, is perjuring himself with my ex and try to get in family court and get me arrested which is not going to happen because I got proof of every dollar and my lawyers got proof of every dollar I've ever moved. Which is crazy that he's calling people trying to get people to sign things. You know, listen, she had the guys in the West Coast try to ask them to perjure themselves to help her. But what does she do? She jumps with a certain person with a certain last name who I know for years that the family never even acknowledged. But they're the greatest person to put out as a front man for us, who I had no problems with. She put herself in my business for no reason, thinking that I'm representing somebody I'm not. I'm in a true crime genre. I'm not in a mob genre. I don't represent anybody but Hootie. That's it. If you come and you're part of the Hootie social club, then I will stick up for you and represent you. And that, people say big announcement. Hopefully one day I'll get to make that announcement when that person joins and we collab with the Hootie platform and his platform together. Then that will be different. But as of right now, there's one person on the Hootie Social Club. And that person right now is laying back, chilling, because they don't get involved in the drama. They're so different in genre. And I'm so different in genre. I'm not in the gossip genre, and I'm not in the mob genre. So I wasn't an associate. I wasn't on record. It was just something that was part of me growing up in my street life. White berry, red, blue. Was that coconut white? I used coconut white, but I never heard, coconut, but not red. Oh, no, I've had the coconut. That's the bowl can. I'm drinking that. A lot more sugar than this. So, with that, I tell Lico. First he says I testified and he got somebody. And I don't want to talk about this because the analytics that they talk about on YouTube, I could go on and look at his 20,000 hours of watch time. The biggest lie, someone sent me that. Biggest lie ever. Intelligent, a bag of rocks. A bag of rocks. He don't got 20,000. And let me tell you another thing. If you're bullying somebody, if it's sexual harassment, there's a category. Yes, you could get somebody's channel kicked off. But you can donate a channel to trying to shut down somebody else's by calling BS. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not threatening them, bullying them. So when he said that it's against YouTube rules to tell somebody to unsubscribe, which I would never do. I want these people doing this. But I don't want to mention any because I don't want nobody going on and watching them. That's why I don't do it. I won't talk about it because it's a rat move. But I won't go on talking about it. Like I said, bring one person forward from any one of my cases to say I was a rat. You can't. It's the people outside of that circle that do. Because I was considered no good. And I earned that. And I live with that. And because I discuss and talk to people that are rats in their eyes, I become one. That's fine. Because I'll live with that. Because I'll still represent Gene, no matter what you call him. Which, if he was on right now and his channel wasn't hacked, he'd have more subscribers than all of us. That's how big his fan base is. Okay? So, with that, Lee Cole says I gave somebody 50 years. I go on and say, name a case. Email him back and forth. We're talking. Now, he made a statement to somebody. If you're saying that I'm a rat, I don't have to you produce the paperwork to prove it. That's something I told him. He said, come on my show and discuss it. I'm like, going on. That's like saying, you want to go on Wendy Williams or TMZ? I don't need to go on Wendy Williams. He's Wendy Williams. So I said, no, I don't need to. I said, you're the one that's talking about it. I says, and if I was the guy, because I got to, choose my words wisely with you, because you're a rat. You're the reason why videos and tapes were sent to parole and probation and the feds about Gene. You can talk all the shit you want. You're the first person to come on and go, oh, I hope nobody, sends those tapes or those videos or however he put that part, because I only got a clip of it, the powers that be. That's a rat. I didn't do it. I wish these guys are the best. Another fake account, get high. So that's a wrap. So when he said the 50 years, I says, you got to prove it. You know what he said? No. He goes, come on and prove it. Totally contradiction from what he just said in one of his episodes that he mentioned me. And somebody said that he was no good. Nobody gets pinched 3+ and doesn't do a day. That's number one. He was a swindler. Wasn't a street guy. Wasn't even a good criminal. He was a swindler. Which, if you know better than anything, if you read any type of literature that's religious, swindler is like one of the worst things you could be. He was a swindler. That's what he was. Okay? Now, that's all I'm going to talk about, because I told him, no matter how bad things, and I wrote this in an email and I said it to him live, no matter how bad things get, I will not bring up a person that either passed away or a person in your family. I won't ever do that. No matter, now, him and Stacks are on the same level. Those are guys that I can never, ever put anything to rest with. Garbage pails, low lives. You're going to lie and perjure yourself? I don't want nothing to do with you. So, he tells me, and then he tells these other people, I don't have to prove anything. You get the paperwork and bring it on. And he's telling me to get the paperwork. I says, how can I get paperwork that don't exist? I never did that. So then he goes and he listens to this woman with a person that I was involved with in my past, and they fed him a lie with my family court issues. You get divorced or you break up with a girl that you so-called may have a child with, you're going to have child support. You're going to have family court in your life. And because certain people know I don't like professional buildings, I don't like courtrooms, I don't like any of that. I'm just tired of all the BS. They drag me in and out of them all the time. Whatever. I got to go in and claim my innocence. I don't run. I don't miss court dates. I don't do any of the above. Well, you're going to use, that's the word. That's the best you could do is junkie, something I've never been accused of in my life. And the crimes you want to, wire fraud and embezzlement, never been locked up for any of that. Everything that they come online and talk about, I would never been accused of. Somebody made a statement from one of my first cases where we all took a global plea, and where I learned my lesson about that, said, Hootie, if anybody knows Hootie from the streets, if they didn't have a service driving around, Hootie drove. One, he was the youngest. Two, he didn't drink. So if I didn't drink, I didn't get high. But I'm not going to keep justifying that. I don't need to. I love it. Just keep the conversation going. Because I'm not a guy with even zero money. So I couldn't afford the drugs you're talking about. So there, I'd have to detox it sometime. Never happened. And that's the last time I'll even speak about that. That's an embarrassment that this show has turned into me talking about these two idiots. But I have to. Because then we're going to jump off it and stay on the true crime. My street life, things that I've experienced, things that I know to be true. So he goes on and says, I spoke to Hootie after he just said, somebody bring paperwork forward. Then he says to me, we'll get back to me first, that, and after the 6 years, let's get back to that real fast so we don't jump around. After the 6 years of me being away from the life, I started to come around. And it was 2009 Christmas Eve party. And the guy that was the cooperator was still wearing a wire at the time. I might have even got caught, because at 400 hours of tapes, I wasn't on 1 minute. Maybe in a group, but they couldn't cipher that. And I came around in Tim's jeans and an Echo Limited leather jacket. These are the things my beefs are about with Cosa Nostra when I hung out with them. Me wearing Yankee fitteds. I mean, there was only so many suits I could wear. Yankee fitteds, wearing Timbs, wearing jeans, wearing an Echo Limited leather jacket to a Christmas Eve party when everybody's dressed to the... You see all the pictures with the suit. Yeah, listen, don't get me wrong. I wear suits on the occasions that I'm supposed to wear them. And would they put them in as a gangster suit or whatever? I don't know. You know, that's just people talk. That's good style. That's all it is, believe me. Current European style, actually. So, which isn't my lane anymore, because I wouldn't even waste the money if I did have the money to do that, which I don't. So, all the hating started because somebody I was involved in from my past. There was no hating before that. That's the only reason why I started, because people see me on a show and said, that you should be out there talking and telling your story. So I did that to help people. And somebody got jealous of that and went on and started these fake rumors. So now this certain person gets in another girl's ear that Lee Cole used to be involved with and put it on Lee Cole about the 50 years, which made no sense at all. I told, find it. I don't have to bring paper because there isn't any. My cases were cop-outs. And every one of them were allocated, and my name wasn't in any of them. So then he went from that to the 25 years. So I get back in touch with him again through email. And I think we spoke because he had my number. I had to actually unblock private calls because I don't accept private calls because he can only call you from private. Scaredy cat. Just as I went to an event, and I went as myself, and there was people there that don't show their name on the internet, their real name, that knew I was there. Nobody approached me with all their big mouths and all that tough guyness. Like I told you, you think I'm worried about these YouTube guys? I got serious guys looking to run into me. I'm not hiding, I'm not running. I'm not stopping going to the restaurants or bars that I go to. So I run into them. It is what it is. You get 3 guys, listen, you got the balls enough that hang down to the ground to put me in a coma to an inch of my life, God bless you. But I'm pretty sure those guys aren't the guys that are looking for me. But there's street guys that are looking for me, but running into me looking for me, not out hunting for me like they used to do in the 90s. So when it happens, it happens. They know where I am. My ex gave them my address, my real name, which you could go after people for that. You can't do that to somebody. But I don't mind if people know it. It'll help you Google me, follow me, and see what I've done. It's all out there. It's on Jerry Capisi, and it's on Google. Everything is out there. Now, I'm not Anthony Russo from the Colombo family, nor am I trying to act like I'm Anthony. Anthony Russo from the Colombo family was close enough to an acting street boss as can be. He's older, gentleman, stand-up guy. Whatever he did, I don't know. That's part of the Colombos, but I do know they used a picture once in the paper while I was in the feds while he was in court. I don't know Anthony. I don't have anything against Anthony, but I'm not trying to be him. I'm not trying to be related to him. This is true crime. Not mafioso genre, not whatever you want to call it genre. Gossip genre. It's none of the above. It's Hootie's story, Hootie's platform. That's it. I'm Dolo, running state to state. So with that, now he starts a 25-year sentence. Now I know the case he's talking about. It says I put a family member away. Not true. Family member gets an extra 4 years. Not true. I mean, they did, but he doesn't know that. He said 25 years. They didn't get 25 years at all, even with the extra time. So I go, and I get the minutes. And I send it to him. Here's the literature. I don't have to give you paperwork. Here's play-by-play. Jerry Capisi gave you his sentencing and his allocution. Where did I testify and hurt this person to give them 25 years? And this was something put to bed because when I was off the streets, Gene was still in the streets, and he spoke to this person, and that person told him firsthand, Hootie had nothing to do with it, nor could he hurt me in my case. It was me talking on tape. It was me that did those, and me and Hootie weren't friends at the time, so he wouldn't know my crimes. And that was told to me. That's why I knew it was BS. What hurt me was the 6 guys that I was close to in Cosa Nostra, when I started to come back around, they didn't like that I was dressing the way I dressed. Like, that was always the big thing. But then they tried to involve me in 2 heinous crimes. And I'm going to do episodes on those. I didn't want to. I don't want to talk about it. It's disgusting. But I would never get, like I said, there's these guys, whatever they were doing, there was even money in it. And I would never do anything against another Italian or a Sicilian. So it was like, are you kidding me? Really, me? You know me. But they say the gambling, never drug addict, but the lifestyle, maybe trying to keep up. They came up with every shit. Why would I try to keep up with it with doing things like that when I could just go heavily into drugs and worry about my 10-year mandatory minimum, right? So we're going to get back to that. Now, my bunkie, who got the 10 years, crack dealer. Well, he pushed it too far, seen his witness list. And you know what the AUSA did? Somebody just threw out there that he brandished a gun Now, that was just, all you got to do is show somebody a gun in the feds. It's 5 years. So now, besides his 10-year mandatory minimum, he brandished a gun, and he wasn't built like that, to scare his workers. So they said, you know what? You want to be a wise ass and take it this far after we gave you the 10, we're putting the 5 on top of the 10, and it's going to be a 15 mandatory minimum. This is why I'd rather never have it. And you know what? If you get the jump on me, you get the jump on me. The time and losing my freedom isn't worth the one chance out of the million that I'm going to get clipped. Whatever. That's fine. But that's what happened with that story. And he wound up doing a 15 mandatory minimum. He's coming home soon. Mikey, shout out to you, brother. Bronx kid, crack dealer. No family. Good guy. Good guy. Just got involved in crack, no violence. Brandished a gun for no reason. Wasn't even about that. So that was the reason why I wouldn't ever get involved in that. So now he talks about me putting away a family member. Now, he's out for blood. But I go on my list. He's not even in the top 10 that everybody's watching. But he's mentioning people's names and he's getting views. So I'm not going to touch it. And maybe some of you do watch him, but not enough of you do, because in my genre, nobody that's watching me is watching him. Maybe some of you are, but they only go by the percentage. And I said, there's no reason. There's no competition. His stories are whack. No one, they're listening to him to want to start beef because it's entertainment. But that's it. And when a guy makes a statement, Jimmy Calandria is my favorite rat. Intelligent. There's a favorite rat. He was scared to mention his name or down talk this guy until I think recently he said something. But in the beginning, he called him his favorite rat. And Jimmy abused him worse than anybody did. Nobody abused Lee Cole a second, third, fourth, whatever bullshit he wanted to take on. And whenever anybody does that, they're trying to be somebody they're not, by the way. He's my favorite rat. And then he was going after Sammy. And that's why Jimmy didn't like him. That's Jimmy's money. But now that he's not with a certain person anymore, I haven't heard Sammy's name brought up. Sammy didn't pull the trigger on killing a kid. You made that whole story up too. Just as you just made the story up about Jimmy with the woman. Listen, we can't change history. We can't change the past. I keep trying to tell you this. People try to change the past to change history. You hear me always say that, and maybe you don't understand why I always say you can't change history. Because by changing the past, you're trying to change what's going to come next. That's history. That's the future. You can't change. That's going to be all history soon, just as the past is. And it was an accident. Jimmy didn't do it. As much as I want to, I have nothing with Jimmy. My olive branch went out too many times. He didn't. And didn't know it was going to be done. And the kid that did took his time. And maybe it was the guilt. I don't know. I don't know him. So, from my knowledge, it was Louis Melito. Now, I'm not saying it was him, but supposedly, maybe because Sammy wanted it done, because he was the underboss, Louis Melito did it. I don't know. But supposedly, in the plea or the cop-out, it wasn't Sammy. He was just there. Maybe he wanted it done. I don't know. But he turns crimes that people were present for their crime. You do. And you do. Listen, you're going to get just as much time, because the guy that he's talking about that I got 25 years, he got more time than the person that he told on tape by accident, but you shouldn't speak about, that pulled the trigger. And he got more time than the guy that pulled the trigger, because the judge had certain words for him. And it's in the minutes. It has nothing to do with me. And that's what happens. So, yes, both of you are responsible for that crime if you're there. But I don't know. But he'll take it to another level. And then I don't know if he said the bullet Sicilian or me, because he said then he called me up for a loan. I don't have Lee Cole's phone number. And for a loan, Lee Cole, there's 1,000 other guys in the industry, if I wanted to make myself look stupid, to borrow money from, which I never did. I don't want to borrow money from nobody. So maybe he was talking about FBS. I don't know. It wasn't me. And then, which I have the email, I say, I sent you the literature on that guy's allocution. I don't know what you're talking about, the 25 years. He says, I got a solid, I mean, he said it like 3 times. Source. And I'm over here thinking, you got a made guy in the Gambino family, a made guy in another family. He's got a woman pulling his strings that don't know anything. So I said, you got a solid source? Sent him the literature. And I said, in a legal matter, not in a street matter, if you keep using my name in defamation and talking this, and I'm giving you the literature, showing you, it's not paperwork, because there's no paperwork to have. Just as he said the other night, that I put somebody away for 25. He jumped off to 50 now, because who the frig knew what that was, a made-up story. And then he says, well, don't threaten me or try to extort me, because you got 50,000 other reasons why not to bother with me, especially with this big thing that's coming down on guys you know, which he heard from a certain woman. Big thing coming down on guys I know. Ignorance. He turned a conversation, just like he turned the Jimmy Calandria situation into killing a woman, which he didn't, into an extortion. I'm trying to extort you. I told you legally. And then he brings up the fact that I went up against it. No, you didn't. No, you don't have good lawyers. Because you didn't make $1 off of Vince McMahon, but that $20,000. You know what, people? This is why you should never, and believe me, you could go on and start a channel to tell people not to subscribe. I would never, but this is why you should never listen to him, even if there's this whole war on YouTube. Don't listen to him. Because you know what kind of garbage pail he is? What did he take the $20,000 for? Get himself out of a swindle. He had to pay $20,000 because he swindled somebody out of it, and they dropped the charges. And he probably gave them a little information. Who knows? I can't tell. But he's a rat bastard for taking the $20,000 from the WWE. Not Vince McMahon, the WWE. He couldn't even sit down with Vince McMahon. So, why did he take the $20,000? Now, we're going to get into some serious shit here, because this is something no street guy believes in. If there was a pedophile ring, forget about if there was just one pedophile, that is atrocious. If there was a pedophile ring and you knew about it, and you don't go to the feds and get a wire and do anything to get that taken down, you're a rat scumbag. But because you needed to get out of a hole, you took $20,000 to go away, knowing about a pedophile ring. You garbage pail. And this is something I didn't want to address, because I don't want to bring light to this guy or Stacks, because they'll never get money off of YouTube. And he could talk all the shit that he wants. He wants fame or money. So maybe he doesn't want money, but he wants fame. And he ain't getting it except being made fun of with his white headphones. And I don't go there. I make jokes. But this is a clown. This is an ignorant person. This is a garbage pail, low life. Okay? You knew about a pedophile ring, and you took $20,000 to save your ass from not going to jail, you scaredy cat. You scaredy cat. You got family. You got money. You should never worry about jail. The guys that don't have money and don't have family and got to go do that bid by themselves, those are the guys I feel for. You can't survive. But you take $20,000 to pay your restitution for somebody you swindled, and you said, you know what? Oh, you got a retirement. You got this. You got that. You went back to the well for more money. And they said, beat it. You don't care what you know. You think you got lawyers that are going to beat Vince McMahon? No. And your lawyers didn't beat Vince McMahon. They didn't. They didn't even come close to putting a dent in them. And did you bring awareness to it? No, you didn't. Because you took $20,000 like a scumbag. Low life. And that's what he is. You just watch his show. Listen, I know this is entertainment. That's not entertainment. That's crossing the line. And to say, Hootie tried to extort me. I got the emails. I told you to stop lying about me, because you know you got to watch your words with him, or I'll bring you into a civil suit. I went up against Vince McMahon. You think? You got lawyers that'll put your lawyers in their pocket. You ain't got nobody with a name to represent you down there in the deep south. You garbage pail. And you telling people, I don't care, but you can't go on YouTube and tell people to unsubscribe. Scared to death to lose viewers. He'll never come amongst that 14, or maybe he'll make it to 1,500 because people want to listen to what he has to say. I don't care. I'm just giving you knowledge. But if I wanted to take a channel today and just put it at talking about all the things why you should unsubscribe from Big Hole, as long as I'm not threatening him, bullying him, no sexual content, you'll see all the things, which a ton of people have reported on me. And you can go back and watch any of my videos. I've never threatened or bullied anybody. But you can do that. I don't want to. I don't care. If whoever chooses to listen to him, I won't call you a garbage pail because I don't know you, but that's a garbage pail move. Because that guy's a garbage pail. Just think, he took $20,000 to go away instead of bringing awareness to a pedophile ring. Now he wants to bring awareness to it after all these years? When he knew it was going on, when a certain person was around, and he did nothing about it, didn't help him, but somebody comes along and gives him a platform because they got a last name, and now he wants to talk about it and never bring Sammy up again? Listen, I don't know Sammy. You know, of course, I was part of that whole genre that hated him for what he did. But you don't know the guy's story. As you get older, you get mature and you realize things. Whatever. I don't. But then, like, this is the most embarrassing. The person that's trying to help the person that wants to hurt me turns around, won't post Sammy's video themselves, but will post a person posting Sammy's video. After what he did to somebody in your family, I'm not even going to mention who, what, how, because you're going to come around one day and realize, why did I go after Hootie? Why did I help try to hurt Hootie? It had nothing to do with anything that I'm going after or representing. You're going to realize that one day. So I'm not going to mention it because I'm not going to go there. Because I know you're making a mistake helping the person that you're helping. And come October, you'll see that yourself when I go to court. So with that, he turns that into 50,000 reasons is my child support. I could tell everybody that. There's nothing wrong with that. You break up, you have a child with somebody, supposedly your child, and you have to pay child support. And if the judge orders a certain amount, there's nothing you can do about that. Or the magistrate, excuse me. And believe me, the magistrate didn't even want to do that. But somehow somebody got to the higher-ups that didn't like me, and they slammed me. That's fine. But I don't owe nobody $50,000, nor did I commit fraud for $50,000. But that's how he made it sound. That's how this person makes it sound. I'm a father. You have to pay child support. That's what you're supposed to do. And like on Vlad, I'll bring you all the receipts that the state takes out every week and every 2 weeks from my check. When people want to say deadbeat, no, it gets paid every 2 weeks. It gets paid. If I get a check in a week, it gets paid. Now I'm a working guy. So I was entitled to stimulus. I was entitled to tax returns. They take all that. I don't see that. So when you say deadbeat, 50,000, what are you talking about? A magistrate ordered that, and I, regardless if I agree with it or not, I got to pay it. They take it. So by you going on and saying that, and then I don't know what you're talking about borrowing money because I don't even have your information to call you. Maybe you were talking about FBS, the Fat Balls Sin, and that's low. That's low. I know you might say he went low on you, but that's low. I don't know him. And to say that he's talking to me or Gene and he's against rats, he wasn't. He wasn't. We reached out to set the record straight. Now, I didn't know about Gene because I don't talk to Gene, but FBS told me. He didn't support it, but he's got to respect the fact to correct something. And he did. That's all that was. He wasn't representing us. One time, and it was over. And if there was other things said, maybe Gene went and him spoke, and I don't know. Or a representative for Gene spoke to him and cleared that up. As I tried to do with Lee Cole and put that to bed and never mention this guy again. And I gave him the literature. I said, this is the minutes. Jerry Cabisi's got the minutes. It's you go on Gangland News and punch it in that you think I got somebody that time, and they'll give you the elocution. Had nothing to do with me. So that's all I did. And he said, stop trying to extort me, Hootie, on an email, because he wants to make paperwork of it and try to, because he's working with somebody that's trying to hurt me. That he called a good source. He doesn't know anybody in Cosa Nostra. He's got no good source. And that person told him about my friends being hurt soon, and maybe I was involved in that. I don't know. It won't be the first or the last that they try to come and get me, or they get me. But I'll fight it this time because I know where I'm wrong and where I'm right. You know, and when I know I can't win, I can't win. But this time I got nothing to lose. There's nobody. There's nothing for me. There's no money. There's no family. There's no anything to lose. So I'm going all the way, as I did on a 20-year mandatory minimum. So you couldn't call me a rat then, and I fought that. If there was a time to flip, that would have been the time. But I went in and fought the 20 mandatory minimum, even though I didn't know what I was looking at till maybe a week before. To be honest, probably 5 days before, maybe even longer. I did time frame. You get all mixed up in that 6 months pre-trial. So 400 hours of tapes. I'll hand on any of it, and I'm gonna put those tapes out soon once I get legal position, because you got to do it with these guys, especially like Lee Cole is a rat bastard, and he deals with my, former ex and feeds him fake people. This is a man who took $20,000 of hush money on a pedophile ring. I don't care if you want to be entertained. Is that somebody you want to listen to? No, I'm not degrading anything else about this man, his family, the past, anything but that. And I wouldn't have had to do this if he doesn't go on and lie. Extortion. What am I going to extort Lee Cole for? His $1,000 a month Social Security check? His bullshit pension? What can I extort him for? He's a suitcase. If I'm going to get, I've never been in extortion, but if I am, there's plenty of guys I could go and extort that got real money and put the bull on them. And they know if I come, it's for real. Believe me, you can say what you want. But it's not my thing. I'm good. I'm good in life financially. I'm all right. I'm living. Lights are paid. Roof over my head. I don't need the money. I don't want the money. If it comes, it comes. Yeah, of course, having a cushion and having money is okay. But I'm all right with the way I live. I've lived great. I've owned houses. In my own, you go look at it, in my own name. I've owned them. So I'm good. I've lived it. I didn't keep it, so I didn't win. That's when you win. And you keep it, and you got it, whatever. But to go on and say extortion when I said if you don't stop legally, because I know him, he's a rat. I knew his moves. I check into people before I even talk to them. I know who FBS is, but it's not my business. I look into anybody I talk to. We settled our shit with one exchange, and that was it. I got nothing with him. He's got nothing with me. We don't need to put that. I'm not in the genre that he's talking about. I'm good. I'm not in the Wendy Williams genre, so I'm not in Lee Cole's genre. I don't know why my name came out of his mouth, because a certain woman that backed him got another woman to go in there and lie to him. Because you can't find anybody that did 50 or 25 in any case I was ever on. Those 2 times were never handed to anybody on any case I was on. So I can't give him paperwork, as he said he couldn't give paperwork to the guy for the guy to produce it. And I told him to produce it. And when he couldn't, and he kept lying, I gave him the literature of the minutes of that person's plea and their allocution. And they never said anything about me. And he specifically told another guy who was still in the life when I was out of it and being called names, who had nothing to do with me. So I give him the literature, being a gentleman, and he still goes on. And then says, 50,000 reasons. It's child support, you asshole. I don't care about that. Everybody has that has kids under 21. I mean, you make no sense. And then to call it extortion, I'm glad I got the emails. Because all I said to you was, if you don't stop with my name, I'll bring you to civil court. He took that as extortion. This is the intelligence that you guys are dealing with. Now, Bill Stacks. You have a guy. It's embarrassing. I helped him because he was an ex-junkie. I wanted to help guys that were recovering. He was mad that I was working with the West Coast and told me to stop working with them. And I told him no, which that blew up, but we're good. We settled that. We're good. And I'll be getting those old videos soon, and I'll put them up there for you guys if you want to watch them and listen to them. And because the channel wasn't in my name. They tried to get the West Coast to perjure themselves. Then Stacks has perjured himself already. So then he calls people on my Instagram or whatever and says, I know you send money to Hootie. I know you send money to Hootie. If somebody ever helped me that was a friend, that's not charity. It's not embezzlement. You could give money to anybody you want to help them at any time. It's not an earned income, idiot. And just because this is a guy who says smoking crack isn't like heroin, he's good. Wow. And you just want to go on and listen to this guy. I was told and I was asked never to speak of this man. Someone wrote the other day, he goes, you took 30 days to pass him. What you left him with in subscribers is what he still has. So, the guy's the biggest idiot in the world. And you don't realize he's trying to help somebody. The Hootie the Clown page. That's how much of an idiot that they put a battery in his back and they're using him so bad and they're going to leave him in Bristol when they're done, sitting in their big houses in Howard Beach. What an idiot. Kicking him to a curb. And they'll never even meet him. Unless they ask him to come to court and perjure himself in family court. That's up to him. Because he stole whatever money came in. Because there was no money. But if anybody ever did, channel's in his name. Chant with Stacks. He lied to me about that. I thought it was the Hootie and Stacks show. He was just naming the episodes that. I had no idea. Good for him. But calling me for $30 every month, for $60 every month. Asking guys around us for loans. That he's got PE money coming in. Never even worked a day in his life. He's telling guys he's getting checks. What a sick world this is. But listen, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys got a teachable moment here. We will discuss, I don't know, super chats if there was any. I appreciate you. I'll get to everybody. DM me if you want. You know, it takes a little while for me to get back to you. A lot of doctor's appointments, MRIs, physical therapy. I'm going through a lot right now with that. Not mentally, it's all right. Physically, a little bit. So I got to take it easy. I can't lift anything. Shout out to whoever's sitting on me. I'm here, and I'm not going nowhere. And I ain't getting rich anytime soon about that house on the beach in Malibu, so we're good. Love you guys. Stay away from these low lifes. I'll never talk about them again. True crime. These are a ton of teachable moments about the streets, how it works, moving in silence and violence. And if I missed anything, let me know. We'll hit it up again live on Supreme Sundays with Hootie. All right? My supporters, you guys are the best. I don't care. Like I remember I told you I was breaking chops about that. So put all of those to bed. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the help and the love. If I can help you guys out, you hit me up on the DM. And like I said, go to Etsy if you want the T-shirts. There's no earn there for me. If you want to be part of the Hootie Social Club, it's not a bad social club. There's no stigma behind it that you will look bad wearing one, because there isn't. Like I told you, not one person can ever come forward and tell you they spent one day more in jail because of me. And I'm proud of that. Regardless who my friends are, who I represent today, doesn't represent the Hootie Social Club platform and that lifestyle. That's the street lifestyle that I lived, that I never hurt nobody in, that I had love for. And then we're going to do episodes on the two heinous things I never wanted to talk about again, that I was getting blamed for, and the first time I ever got scared in my life. Because you can't beat the feds, regardless if you're innocent. See, murder's one of them. There's a lot of people, that's a lot of it. And I don't want to get political, because you don't need them chasing you around either. You know, talking about things you're not supposed to. But that ain't your business. You know what I mean? But listen, you just know what I say. I wait every day. FBI, New York State, New York City, or somebody to get me. I'm here. I got nowhere to go. I watch guys with up to $500 million not be able to outrun the law. This face ain't outrunning shit with the $13 in my pocket. So I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm making every court date. Don't got to worry about putting me in a cell. I'll be there with bells on an hour early. My guys, my people, ladies and gents, number love and respect, Jim Don, and stay up.